Welcome to Day 4 of our Veterans Week edition of On Stage at the BACP. Today's special guest is William Garringer.
Oh, William, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank
we
you for
appreciate
having me.
it. Tell us a little bit about you, what branch of the service you were in, how you chose that branch, just whatever you want to tell.
Well, I elected to join the United States Air Force, and I was in high school, and I didn't really have a lot of prospects as far as going on to college. I was working fast food industry, so wasn't in any kind of place that was giving me many opportunities. And so I thought long about what I wanted to do, and I'd spent a significant amount of time in scouting. I was in Civil Air Patrol for a brief period, and I was also on a lot of sporting teams. So the idea of being on a team was very appealing to me. And so I thought, if I joined the military, that is something that would give me the chance to have a career, get an education, and serve my country, because it's something that appealed to me.
And you chose the Air Force because you wanted to be a pilot, or why did you choose the Air Force?
I didn't have a lot of family members that were military. I did have a couple of grandparents that were in the Navy during World War II, but I had a particular family member that I looked up to. His name was Jack, and he had served in Vietnam. And so it kind of inspired me to select the Air Force as a branch to go, because I'd heard some of his stories and how it was a great place to be a part of, a great organization. And so that led me to the Air Force. And of course, the taste of the Civil Air Patrol, being an auxiliary of the Air Force, this showed me it was something that I would like very much.
Okay. And so did you become a pilot, or what did you do in the Air Force?
Well, I enlisted because I didn't have the education path to take. And so when I was going through the process with the recruiters, the paperwork and everything, I wasn't able to get a direct assignment. So when I went to basic training, I didn't know what exactly I was going to do. I had tested very well, and so I had a lot of choices in front of me. And so they put me in the electrical field out of the four that there's mechanical and general and administrative. And so I went to basic training thinking this is the direction I'm going in, but it was very vague.
Okay. Well, electricity is important. I mean, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing today and be able to see you if it wasn't for electricity, and it's the same with the military. So
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about where you served, maybe an interesting story of something that you experienced while you were in the service. I mean, I'll leave it up to you.
Sure. Well, so I get to basic training, and I did pick electrical systems. So it's kind of a combination of all the electrical trades. So high voltage work, alarm systems, low voltage, medium voltage, airfield lighting, we covered it all. And so that was the career I picked, and it seemed very interesting, but I also knew that it would give me a lifelong career. And that was one of my factors in making a selection. And so I chose electrical systems, and then I ended up getting a direct duty assignment to the Philippines, which a lot of incredible things happened there, and we may come back to that.
Okay.
But I spent a couple of years in the Philippines, and then I actually got to be stationed close to home, Tinker Air Force Base in Oklahoma City, for 9 years. I didn't think I was going to be there that long, but they were making some transitions, and so I ended up getting frozen there for several years. So I wasn't allowed to leave.
Okay.
But then I was able to move on to Cheyenne, Wyoming. I was there at their base where they have the nuclear weapon program. I served there for 4.5 years. And then I stepped out of that career field and did a special duty assignment and went to the Air Force Academy. And I was a trainer for 6 years. And along the way, I had 3 deployments to the Middle East for various operations. And when I was at the academy, my children were just about to get into high school, and I knew that I could potentially go back to electrical and continue my career, and I had aspired to reach the top ranks. I'd accomplished a lot of things. I probably could have done that, but I decided that I wanted my children to have all their high school in one place, and we decided to return home to my home state and live here in the Broken Arrow area, Tulsa area.
Good choice. Good
so,
choice.
so I've been back now since I retired.
Okay. So how many years total were you in the Air Force?
I served almost 22 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
just a few days shy.
Okay, so we're going to go back to Philippines because you've intrigued my interest and hopefully our viewers as well. Tell me what happened in the Philippines that was unique or whatever. Yeah,
Sure.
just tell me.
Well, when I arrived to the Philippines, I was supposed to be there on an 18-month unaccompanied tour. But I had gotten married between basic training and arriving at the base because I was given a direct duty assignment. So I did not go to a technical school. I was not able to learn that skill set. Probably because I tested high enough, and they had, at the time, slots that they would say, well, these individuals are able just to learn it on the job. And so that's what they did. So I arrived to the Philippines after a long journey, and I arrived there, and I tell them, you know, I'm supposed to be here for 18 months. They're not expecting me. And they said, no, you're supposed to be here for 24 months. And so they changed my assignment. And I was a non-volunteer for overseas. And I said, well, I'm married. Can I bring my wife over here? And they said, sure, you can bring your wife over here. 36-month tour, though.
So you were there for 3 years.
Well, that was my assignment, was supposed to be for 3 years.
Okay.
And so I've been there 2 minutes and my tour's doubled. Well,
Not boding well.
right. Soon after I got there, we had a super typhoon. Typhoon Dan came through and really tore the place up. So civil engineering, the organization I was a part of, we spent a couple weeks cleaning the base up. Well, the political climate at the time there was deteriorating rapidly. And so people were wanting the United States out of the Philippines. They wanted more sovereignty. So they were protesting outside the base. There was actually several service members that were killed because of the unrest that was going on. And because of my rank, I had to live downtown. So I'm newlywed, and I'm living downtown in this country. And it was already a struggle because I was so low ranking and I made so little money I couldn't afford air conditioning or hot water. And so it was a struggle.
That 3 years had to seem like it was going to be forever.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And there was actually a coup attempt. So the forces that wanted to take over the government had started making some inroads, and the United States intervened and supported the government that was in place, and they were able to stop that. So it was just continuing to get worse. Well, about 9 months into the assignment, we had a 7.9 earthquake hit the Philippines. And it was incredible. It just tore the place up. When we went outside, because we were in our house and we needed to get out from anything falling on us, the walls were moving, the ground looked like waves of water, everything was rumbling. It was incredible. It went on for about 45 seconds.
Wow.
It was an incredible experience. And what happened is because of the way that the plate tectonics worked, it created all this energy that had to be released. And so over the next few months, we could smell sulfur in the air. We could see the steam plumes in the mountains. And so they knew that there was a volcano was coming alive.
A typhoon and then a volcano. Oh.
Yes.
Not the kind of action you think you're signing up for when you join the military, in my estimation anyway.
Yes.
Goodness.
And all while trying to learn my job. And so we kind of were getting these rumors that, hey, there's the volcano that may erupt soon.
Oh my gosh.
So we were starting to do preparations for that, and they had brought in all the scientists, and they had all these instrumentation around the volcano, and they were really watching it, and they learned a tremendous amount of information from that. Well, they knew that it was getting close, so they decided that what they were going to do is they were going to evacuate the non-essential military and the dependents and send them to a naval base on the other side of the island, on the other side of the mountain range, what would be considered a safe area. So Monday morning, the evacuation order came. So everybody loaded up in their personal vehicles and in government vehicles, and everybody that was supposed to not stay behind, and they all caravanned out. But because I'm civil engineering and you got to keep the power on, I was part of the mission essential team.
Wow.
So we're waiting to see what's going to happen, and Wednesday morning, the volcano did the initial eruption. And to give you an idea of what it looked like, I have a book here that shows the initial.
I wondered why the books were here, but
plume,
now oh my
plume
goodness.
cloud. That was the initial eruption, and when that occurred, they had told us that it would be tremendously loud, that people in Thailand could hear it when this thing erupted. Well, I was on night shift doing our work, and I had just got off shift, and I was dropped off at my house. I fortunately got to move on base, and the sirens go off. And I'm like, why are the sirens going off? And so I throw my uniform on, I look outside, and there's this plume cloud tumbling up in the air, coming right at me.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
Only time in my life I've ever thought, well, this is it. This is the day that I'm going to die. And so I had to get transportation. So I run onto the road. I'm trying to flag somebody down. And a guy finally stops and I load in his vehicle, and everybody's racing, through the base, trying to get to the edge so we can evacuate. And while we're driving, I'm turning around, looking out the window, and the driver's asking me, how's it look? How's it look? It's coming right at us. It's coming right at us. Go, drive. And so we went to our evacuation point, which is on actually the side of a dormant volcano, Mount Riot.
Oh, from one volcano to another.
Yes.
Yay.
And there was an agricultural college there. And so we evacuated to that point. And this was just the volcano clearing its throat. So it made this magnificent mushroom cloud that went miles into the air. Wow. Actually, the space shuttle was flying, and they were able to see it.
Oh my
took
goodness.
Some pictures.
Wow.
So they gave the all clear, and we returned to the base. Well, this thing kept being false alarm after false alarm, false alarm. So the sirens were always going off. So they got to where they were just always ringing in your ears, and you were wondering if they were going off again. And they started consolidating all of us because we were so scattered on this massive base. Clark Air Base was the largest military base overseas at the time. Wow. So tens of thousands of military members. And so the Sunday morning, the major eruption occurred.
The major one. So the other was just kind of like a precursor.
Yes.
Okay.
And what they had done is the typhoon was coming ashore, Typhoon Yunya. So they had consolidated us even more to the airfield. So we're all in a hangar. And I remember waking up, the siren's gone off, so I thought, well, maybe it's another false alarm. So I walk out to get clear to see the mountain range. And when I get around to the mountain range, it's just totally engulfed in volcanic ash. And it's just rumbling and going up into the sky. But because the typhoon's coming in, there's clouds. So I can't see how massive this is.
Oh my
gosh. And to equate it to the mushroom cloud was dwarfed. It took up the whole mountain. There's red lightning shooting through it.
Oh
Everything's rumbling. There's earthquakes going on. And I'm standing there in awe. And I turn around and look, and everybody's racing away. And so I had to run back in, get the keys to my government vehicle. And I jump in it, and we evacuate back to the evacuation point on the side of Mount Riot. And we ended up being there for 4 days while this thing just erupted.
And obviously you survived.
Yes.
You brought a rock.
I
I'm
did.
guessing that's a part of the story, so tell us about the rock.
I was able to pick this up in our recovery efforts. And I will ask people how far they can throw it, because it's actually fairly light, pumice rock from the eruption that occurred 600 years prior. And people look at it and say, well, I think I could throw this a decent distance. Well, I picked this up about 12 miles away from the eruption center.
Wow.
And we had rocks even bigger than that. We had a boulder in the middle of the parking lot, the BX, that was the size of a Volkswagen Beetle.
Wow.
So this thing was the second largest eruption in the 20th century.
That's amazing.
Yes, and I stood about 8 miles away when it occurred.
A lot closer than most of us would ever want to
Yes.
get. So join the Air Force, see the world, a volcano and 2 typhoons, or oh my goodness.
Yes.
You have had quite the career, and thank you so much for being here today. I wish we could go longer. Maybe we'll invite you back and you can tell us more of the story,
Sure.
and maybe even something that you did, I don't know, military-like
Right.
while you were in this service. But thank you so much for coming, and thank you for your service. We do appreciate it. Without you, our bases would have been black instead of lit up. So thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed our visit today with William Garringer. Come back tomorrow for another Veterans Week edition of On Stage at the BACP.